Hello and welcome to Rainbow Stars channel, and today I'm here to give you guys a little bit of an update on my health situation. So if you notice, I probably don't look the best, but I also don't look the worst. So what's going on with me? Pretty sure you guys can tell. Look at the shoulders. Alright, one of these things does not look like the other. And to give some clarity, I had, because I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, I injured this shoulder a while back. No, I am not shrugging. This is just swelling, and it's completely ridiculous. And I injured it about not even half a year, and I re-injured it recently. What is Ehlers-Danlos syndrome? It is a syndrome, it's a genetic illness, and I did get blood tested. It was confirmed that I do have the illness, and basically my joints and soft tissue, nervous system, certain organs, just joints mostly, and tendons and ligaments, everything is not the way it should be. And I keep getting hurt and then it never heals, and it just gets worse. So it's like injury stacked on top of injury, and it won't heal, and that's my life. Some people who have EDS can live normal lives and it won't affect them. Some people can live their lives and it completely cripples them. Some people with EDS die from EDS. So it really just depends on the severity, the type of genetic information, how it is. There's like 3 different or 4 different variants, and the variants of the illness can obviously vary and continue to mutate and change. So, fun fact, whenever I was a kid, I was super flexible, and I could do things that other kids couldn't do. And I thought it was completely normal for me. I thought I was like superhuman. It was like a superpower. It was super cool. I showed it off to people. And, maybe I shouldn't have the hyper flexibility. I thought it was no big deal. And then come teenagehood, I started suffering from falls. I fell when I was running. My ankles would turn out on me. I'd fall going upstairs. I was super clumsy. I didn't understand what was quite going on. Little did I know, during that time, I was apparently undergoing nerve damage. We'll get back to that in a second. So I go to this doctor because I had a foot injury, and I showed this person my hyperflexibility, and the doctor said, "Oh my God, I think I know what's going on with you. I think you have a genetic illness and we need to do a blood test." So we did a genetic test on me, and turned out he was correct. So, yay me. I was 16 when I was diagnosed, and as I grew older, as the doctor had said, is that, some people, it can get worse, and it did for me. I was tearing muscles. I would tear, I had hyperextensions all the time. As a kid, I suffered from nursemaid's elbow, which was super painful, and it just got worse as I got older. And my weight definitely does not help. I've tried losing weight before, but during my weight loss journeys, I always suffer an injury. It sets me back. And the last time I lost weight was before I got pregnant. I lost about 50 pounds. I was super happy about that. But then during the pregnancy, I gained it all back, and now I'm going to have to try and lose the weight again, but it's really difficult, especially if I do suffer from binge eating due to my anxiety, and just, that's how I always coped with stress, was eating and stuffing my face. It's not healthy. And I'm definitely trying to get a handle on it again, doing Weight Watchers again, trying to lose weight again, but it's just a constant battle. especially whenever I get hurt all the time. So this arm hurts really bad. And I can't even go to my old doctor at this moment due to insurance issues. So I have to live with the swollen, angry monster. Yeah, it's pretty up there. It looks like I'm shrugging. It really does, like in person. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but in person, it looks like I'm literally shrugging my shoulders. That's not what I'm doing. And so I would go and get a cortisone shot, which is a treatment for my issues. I've tried taking anti-inflammatories before. It has no effect on me. Don't know if it's because of my genetic condition or what, but ibuprofen, don't touch it. I've tried meloxicam, I don't touch it. I've tried Nebutone over like 100 and some odd milligrams, and that didn't touch it. The only thing that's ever worked for my body to get rid of swelling in a joint was a cortisone shot. And the last time I got one, I had to be put under anesthesia because they couldn't get into the joint without using epidural needles. Because it was so swollen, they couldn't get to the joint. That's how severe it is. But it's definitely difficult when you're dealing with a 2-year-old and he likes to throw tantrums, and trying to catch him and, you know, discipline him properly when he's misbehaving. It's just like, it really is just a little difficult. And I rub my face a lot too whenever I get stressed out. So I have not been sleeping. The pain is so severe I can't sleep most nights. And it's super frustrating, especially when all I want to do is play with my kid, you know, like any mom does. I want to pick him up, I want to cuddle him, I want to roughhouse with him and play cars, you know, color on a coloring book. But because of my disease, my illness, getting in the floor is difficult. Getting up is difficult. I have knee issues on the right side. I've got issues on my left Achilles tendon. I've got issues on my right ankle. And I have nerve damage in both legs. And the nerve damage made it to where I can't even feel my feet. You know, I could step on rocks and walk on it like it's concrete. It's not a big deal. You know, whenever I was clipping my toenails, sometimes I'd clip the quick because I can't feel it. So it is super, super hard when you are a 23-year-old, not even 23, sorry, not 23, sorry, no, 32-year-old, I'm also dyslexic. I'm a 32-year-old, and I can't do many of the things that other 32-year-olds can do. I've got back problems. There's, in my spine there's a disc that likes to compress against the nerves that feed into my lower legs. And so like whenever I'm on my cycle, because there's soft tissue that leads from the uterus to the base of the spine, it pulls the area, the contractions that help to, you know, slough off the uterine lining to, like, you know, remake more. Anyway, during that process, because of my illness, it gets super painful. I suffer temporary paralysis, and my muscles contract to the point where I literally cannot move my legs, and I am literally down for 3 days. Luckily, I have support of my mother and my father to help me take care of my 2-year-old during that time, but I shouldn't have to live this way. But you know, what else are we to do? Doctors don't treat pain like they used to. They used to be able to go, oh, here's some hydrocodone and throw that at you. Or here, have some Oxy for home. Like, you know, the old-timey cures. But now they're afraid that people are going to get addicted. So they can't prescribe those things anymore. So we get tramadol, which, if you've ever had tramadol, you would know it takes the edge off a little bit, not much. teeny tiny little itty bitty bit. Makes you minorly, teeny tiny bit comfortable. It's like taking a Tylenol. It's not that I want heavy drugs anyway, but like I would take that over nothing, obviously, but it's really not like it used to be, is all I'm saying. The healthcare providers had to basically think about what's healthy for their patients and make sure that nobody gets addicted to drugs, and especially hardcore drugs, and become addicts in the future. I get that. I totally get it. But in the meantime, although I understand it, I am suffering pretty badly right at this minute. So the fact that I have extensive swelling in that joint where it does not exist over here, like it is so swollen. The camera doesn't do it justice. But you can probably tell, like, yeah, it is swollen. Anyway, so while I'm dealing with that pain, I can't get relief, so I can't sleep. So literally I'm up all the time with this kid like a zombie, being like, Mommy's really tired, I'm sorry, go play with Grandpa outside, I need to take a nap. Because I couldn't sleep all night. And then you go down for a nap and then you realize you can't sleep. Yeah. It's hard. Definitely hard. So, yeah, it's not fun. I've got a carpal tunnel in both hands. I've got nerve damage in my fingertips. I've got an enlarged thyroid with a goiter. I had polyps on my vocal cords. I had an eardrum burst on me recently. So, girl's got problems. I mean, they're right. Like, my liver is enlarged, which is not good. Like, whenever you have an enlarged organ, typically it means that something's going on there. It's not a normal thing to have an enlarged liver, but I have one. So most likely in the future I'm going to have to worry about fatty liver disease because I am very obese. So, yay me. During my pregnancy, I had suffered mini strokes. But they call it mini strokes. But it was actually strokes. You have a stroke, you stroke. So I suffered strokes, and I had tachycardia and cholestasis, which is a symptom where the body dumps bile into the bloodstream. It was absolute hell. My eyelids were itchy. My fingernails, under my fingernails was itchy. Inside my mouth, it was horrible whenever I was pregnant. But the hardest part was whenever I started stroking out and I couldn't talk. I couldn't speak. I could barely talk to anybody. It got to the point where I sounded like a robot and had to really think about the words that I was saying. And to this day, it has affected me. I can talk now, yay me. But sometimes whenever I'm speaking, I say the wrong word. And sometimes my thoughts, it's hard to organize verbally my thoughts to get them out correctly. So sometimes I say things incorrectly and don't make any sense. So even though I try to make a point sometimes, I might say the wrong thing and then people get confused. So it's tough. And sometimes I say the wrong, like whenever I'm trying to say a word correctly, I mispronounce it and then people are like, no, that's not the word. And then they tell me to pronounce it properly. So yeah, it has affected my speech to this day. Although I am much better than what I was previous. Like, I literally sounded like that. And much worse than that. Like, that was just a sample. It was much worse. I actually got lucky that I didn't die, to be honest. My heart, my tachycardia had my heart rate going at 140 when I was at rest. That's me just sitting down to eat. So you could just imagine how high that heart rate was when I was walking and moving. And it was unreal. So I was at risk of stroke, and I did stroke. At one point, whenever I was in the hospital, because they put me in there to monitor me and the baby, whenever I stood up, I felt real sick. I felt like I was gonna pass out. And they took my blood pressure while I was standing, and it was 172, which is basically high enough that they were freaking out that I would stroke. So they laid me down and retook it a few minutes later. Whenever I was laying down, my blood pressure was fine. But getting up and moving, no. So eventually, whenever my speech recovered enough, they felt safe enough to let me go home, even though I was still a mess. But, like, what more can they do? I was pregnant. Anything they did to me could have affected the baby. So, after monitoring me, they're like, yeah, let's send her home even though she's stroking. Because there's nothing we can do if she wants to keep the baby. So, that's what I did. And I was on strict bed rest until I gave birth. So, and he was taken out early. But yeah, I didn't put in all those details. Whenever I was doing the whole birthing update thing, I never went back to revisit that for my online journal or anything because it was quite traumatic. The whole thing, like even after birth, was traumatic because they took him instantly, 30 minutes of time with him, and then they took him away and put him in the NICU, and that's where he stayed for a month. So bonding was super difficult. People think the bonding is easy. It would be if you were able to actually have and hold and smell and have that intimate time right after birth with your child. But just like with any animal, you take the baby away too soon, and it becomes very jarring. I couldn't even remember my kid's face. I didn't have him long enough, and I was highly drugged up because I had to go in for a C-section. So I couldn't remember my own child's face, and I know that's horrible, but that was just the reality. And whenever I saw him again, I thought, this isn't my kid. The people next door have my kid. See, it caused a lot of mental confusion for me. And whenever I finally looked at him long enough, I was like, oh yeah, wait, this is mine. You know? But it was a very jarring experience, and the people never really gave me a chance to breastfeed because he was put on the bottle immediately. And then he would reject me. He rejected the nipples because he associated this nurses as his parent. It was, he was so attached to the bottle that breastfeeding was super hard, and I felt rejected. So it was a big deal, and I went through a lot of postpartum depression afterwards. It was super hard to bond in the hospital. But once we got home, over a series of few weeks, our bond was a lot stronger. But it's hard to bond or create a bond with your child when everybody else is involved. So we needed us time to get to know each other and to have him recognize me as his mommy. But he wouldn't even make eye contact with me for 3 weeks after the fact. So it was hard. It was definitely hard. It was even harder whenever I'd put him to breast and he would just reject me, full stop. And I still wanted him to have the breast milk, so I'd end up pumping and he wouldn't get that quality time with me. So it was very difficult. But obviously we're all good now. He calls me mommy, he loves me to death, and we have like a bond stronger than anything. But in the very beginning, it was really hard. So I'm hoping that in the future, if I ever decide, probably won't ever decide to have another one, but if I find the right person, marry or whatever, I'd consider maybe, but like I wouldn't be able to do it on my own. So me not getting pregnant is what's best. Anyway, but that was the whole pregnancy thing. But during that, I also tore ligaments in my hip during the pregnancy and got hip issues on top of my back issues. So, yay me. My back hurts so bad all the time. I can't lay on it. I can't sleep on it. I used to be able to sleep on my stomach, but after I had the C-section, my insides still hurt to this day. Like my insides hurt, and I can't lay on my stomach. The only comfortable way I can sleep is on my shoulders. And both shoulders are injured. I have 3 tendons torn in this shoulder, and this shoulder hurts. And in this one I have a slap tear, which is the cartilage itself, which has torn asunder. So I've got cartilage floating around in there, making me look like I'm shrugging up my shoulder. Yeah. So, definitely a thing. And it's just a mess. I'm an absolute mess. I don't know what I'm gonna do. But I try my best to look on the bright side of things. Bright side, I have a happy, healthy 2-year-old. Bright side is tomorrow is another day I can try again on my diet and try to lose some weight, which would help my condition. And I'm going to try not to let this injury and this pain deter me from functioning, even though it is really making me depressed at this point. I have what we call situational depression, and it gets so much worse when I'm in pain. The more pain I'm in, the more depressed I get. And I'll tell you, when you've got pain that you can't escape from, you can't escape from it. It is constant. It is every day. Some days are worse. And the worst days are when my mind go to hell. Because my brain goes and tells me, this sucks. This is unfair. This is just not ideal. How did I get here? What did I do to deserve it? You know, and it's those thoughts that bring you down to the negative. And it's, you know, it's easy to try and stay optimistic and positive. But literally the only thing keeping me going at this point is my kid. He is literally what drives me. Without him, I wouldn't be getting up every day. I wouldn't get up at all. I just lay here whenever I'm my worst. And the fact that I have him is such a blessing because, you know, he just fills me with so much joy that, whenever I'm feeling my worst and I can't get up, like the morning I'm so stiff and I hurt so bad, even though I have like a Tempur-Pedic mattress that takes a lot of pressure off of my joints. It's still like you wake up and you feel like you got hit by a bus. That's what I feel like, because I've had injury on top of injury and they don't heal. They just stay there because my body doesn't make enough collagen to repair the soft tissue. So, I mean, it's just constant. And when I'm at my worst and I can't move, he comes in here and he goes, "You awake?" And I say, "Yes, baby. Hi, good morning." He comes and sees me first thing in the morning, and he uncovers me. He'll take my covers right off, and he goes, "Hungry?" And I say, "Oh, you're hungry, baby?" And he says, "To eat?" And I say, "Okay, Mama will get up and make you some breakfast." And then I explain to him, and I just say, "Mommy needs a minute to be able to get up." And he goes, "Okay." And he crawls into bed with me, and he'll snuggle me for a few minutes. And then I just try to get unstiff, you know, just try to get up. And then finally, whenever I'm out of bed, he'll take my nightgown, you know, the bottom of my nightdress, and lead me to the kitchen. He is all about that food. He eats very well, and that's very good for a growing boy. So it's super freaking cute. And he just cheers me up. Some days, whenever it's the worst days, he'll come in here and he just goes, "Love you." Or as he likes to say it, "Love you," because he has trouble pronouncing the L's. And I just think it's the cutest thing. Absolutely adorable. I think every mother knows that their kid's the most adorable kid on the planet. uh, but yeah, so I'm probably going to have to do some rehabilitation. This arm's actually the shoulder joint has gotten much weaker on this side. Earlier, just from holding a small bowl in my hand, like my hand's really stiff on this side too. It's just cascading. The shoulder is causing the whole arm to ache, and like I feel like something jabbing me right at the shoulder blade. So I'm pretty sure I tore something else in this shoulder, not just the slap tear, because by now the slap tear should have already gotten enough scar tissue to build up around it to relieve my agony. So, and I did feel a pop. I heard something crack in there a few days ago, and then I felt it pop, and I thought, oh, here we go again. So, pretty sure a shoulder joint's not supposed to go snap, crackle, and pop on you. And if it makes noise and swells up like this, then yeah, I'd say there's a problem. Anyway, so that's a little more on me and my issues, my health problems, and I'll keep you guys updated if there's any development on that. There is no cure, and the only treatment is basically more geared toward rehabilitation. It took me 2 years to learn how to walk correctly because I have so much nerve damage in my legs that the information wasn't getting to my brain. So my feet were walking, like my walk was odd. It was not correct. And when your walk is wrong, you affect the hips, you affect the lower spine, you affect things. And it took me 2 years to learn how to walk again. And now my walking is just as bad as it was back then. So, in other words, I need constant rehabilitation all the time. But the drive to get me to do that all the time, especially when I'm the only caregiver to my son, is a little bit difficult. It's like, when am I supposed to do this rehabilitation? Like at bedtime, I guess, because that's the only time I'd have to myself. Or nap time. But yeah, it's when you're tired all the time and you feel lousy, it's hard to pick that time. But yeah, I think right now I'm going to focus on my weight loss and see if I can't lose some of this weight that I've put on from the pregnancy and see what I can do. But with the new hip injury and the new shoulder injury that's super fresh, working out is impossible. I can't even go swimming on this shoulder. I can't go swimming on the shoulder. It hurts that bad. So I'd probably drown, to be honest. So swimming's out. So like I don't really have a safe mode of exercise that I can do other than lay down exercises, I guess. But I don't think that's really going to impact my weight any. But yeah, we'll have to see. I'm trying to just mostly eat salad and protein at this point. That's no bread. I'm going to try to go on my gluten-free, soy-free, dairy-free diet. Yeah, that's going to be hard. But that's what I was on once upon a time, and I lost so much weight from doing that, and I did very well. So I'll just have to do that again. It's a constant battle, and it's going to fluctuate back and forth. I'm never going to be skinny. Never. I can want to be skinny, but I'll never get there because it's constant. Like, my injuries stack up on top of each other. Like, as soon as this heals, it's going to be something else. And I know it's going to be something else because since high school, like middle school years, that's when the injuries started to happen. And then right after high school, the injuries got much worse and more severe. And started to basically be lifelong issues. So at this point, people have told me that I should just declare myself disabled and go for my disability. And I'm actually going to have to agree with them. because of the carpal tunnel syndrome, the fact that both of my shoulders are out of commission, the fact that I have a bad hip, and the fact that I have a bad spine, and the fact that I can't feel my feet. um, the fact that I have bad ankle joints, and the fact that it's all over my body, not just one area of my body. And the fact that I know that I'm going to get hurt again. It's just going to happen. And it's something I got to live with. So, yeah. Physical labor's out. If I did any physical labor, I would just injure myself a lot easier. Like, just imagine, I hurt myself just from rolling over in bed. I injure myself from just sitting up, and I can tear a muscle. Just walking, I can get a hyperextension. It's severe. And unfortunately for me, it's just going to be something, unfortunately for me, if I did a hard labor job, like just normal labor that any other person would do, any other healthy person. Like, I had a job. I held it down for a very short time, for at least a year. And it was very physical. And I tore a pec muscle on this side. And I also tore muscles in my back, like along the shoulder blade. And I also injured a foot and a knee from falling on the job because I can't feel my feet and it was slippery back there. So I would slip and fall. And it was very physical. It did a number on me physically. At one point, my hands were so swollen I could not use them to wash dishes. And they had to put me in a different position at my job so that I could actually function. And I was going to the hospital every other day for pain management because I didn't have a PCP. And I was doing it off of my work insurance. So I had to pay out of pocket for the majority of that. So, yep. It was tough. But I realized after I got pregnant with my son, I thought to myself during the pregnancy, even after pregnancy, that working would basically break down my body faster. And doing physical labor like that, seeing as how it can break me down faster, it would be better if I either went for my disability or a low impact job if I could ever find one. Anything to make an income because I miss having an income. So definitely things to think about. I need to get on my feet and I just don't quite know how to do it. So yeah, my shoulder really hurts, so I'm just gonna wrap it up at this point. It's already 33 minutes into a video. I'm pretty sure that nobody's gonna watch this far anyway, even if anybody did watch, but most people would tap out by now. Although I did have a few people on the last video I made find it interesting, my thoughts and views on what I call the woke movement, but that's the only thing I know how to, like, I don't know what the real movement should be called, if it's called anything. Trans movement, I don't know. I don't know what the movement's called because I just know what the popular name is. Like, I don't know what legit, if anybody sat down in the room and decided what to call it. So I'm just going to call it what it is. But they thought it was interesting enough that they watched the whole video, and I was surprised and shocked that 2 people actually watched the video all the way through. And these were nice people. So that was cool. But yeah, so we'll see if anybody wants to find this interesting. There are some people out there with EDS that don't have my issues. Like I said, every person's different. There are different variants and degrees of this genetic illness. I label it as a genetic illness because I'm sick and it's genetic. So I'm hoping my son doesn't have it. I'm going to have to take him to a doctor and get him blood tested. But with his legs being the way they are, he has a lot of leg issues. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but his legs are not atypical. And he is hyperflexible. So I do worry he does have my genetic issue. I just hope that with him it won't be severe. I'll have him in like a low impact sport, you know, self-defense classes, stuff like that. Things to help him build muscle to protect the joints too would be good. Just to be proactive on that, because I can see signs that he might have what I got. It's better to intervene early, to make him stronger muscular wise whenever he's grown up, so that he doesn't injure his joints so bad. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that. It's just a wild ride, man. I really hope he doesn't have my variation, that he might have gotten something a little less, just hypermobility and nothing else going wrong would be fine, but yep, don't know what to do about that. But yeah, it's like 11 o'clock. Probably won't be able to get to bed until 5 a.m. like last time, but we'll see. I just can't get comfortable, and it's stressful. But yeah, so remember, when you view, peace, love, unity, and respect. And I'll see you guys on the flip side. And I really can't lift with this hand for too long, so I keep switching because my shoulders both hurt. Anyway, peace, love, unity, and respect. And if you like this video, fine. If you don't, that's fine too. I'm just journaling shit. So, yay! Alright. See you guys later.